Man. Some people are like, I don't know what's going on right now. Listen, when your worship leader is up here leading you in worship, and she is out of breath,
Worship.
right? That's worship.
Worship.
That's worship. Listen, do me a favor. Look at the person next to you and say, you matter. All right, or behind you, or next to you, or in front of you, right? Listen, you matter. Listen, you matter so much. You matter. Listen, you're here today, and you got stuff, and you got drama, or maybe you're having a great. I came in today. I was like, man, this is awesome. Maybe because I had 4 cups of coffee and 8 donuts, but it's awesome. And a banana, kind of, balance it all out. Gotta get that fresh fruit in. And but you matter. You guys matter. You're special. You're unique. I'm sick, and I'm just going to tell you, I'm just sick of living in a world where everybody is put in categories, and everybody is this, and everybody is that, and listen, the church was designed so that everybody could come together and be themselves and be with other people and experience the greatness of the Lord, right? Amen. That's what church is about. Yeah. And I think absolutely. Because right now we are a year old in our church, and it's amazing. But listen, and I want you to think about this for a minute. You're right now in a moment where you have a part of watching God and being a part of allowing God to develop this family. You know how many people don't get that opportunity? We have this opportunity to come together and say, okay, God, this is who we are. What do you want us to be? And I'm going to tell you, there's 3 different options we have. And I'm going to give them to you, okay? This is not in your notes. I'm just going to give it to you. We have the option to be program driven. That means we get people in our church based on how many programs we do a year. We can do that. We can have a program for Easter. We can have a program for the summer. We have a program for Christmas. Yeah, we have all these programs lined up. But I'm going to tell you, when the program stops, you got to go home to your messed up world and your heartaches and your stresses, waiting for the next program to come. We can be not just program-oriented, we can be people-oriented, meaning that people have the preeminence of our church. If you get mad, we will change what we do because we don't want you to get mad at us. And then what happens is when we please you, we mess somebody else up.
That's right.
And then somebody else, and then somebody else. So if we go by the idea is if we put all people's opinions first, and what happens when we keep offending people? God. Or the third option, which I think this is the best option. Presence driven. Not programs, not people, but the presence of God. Amen. See, when you are putting God at the center of everything, and your church is moving to a point where it's all about Him, then what happens is your programs must bow, your people must bow, your pastor must bow, everybody must bow, because Jesus becomes the center of everything. And I'm here to tell you that in our church, we are going to be, and we are, presence driven.
Amen. Amen.
It's about Him, because the program's not going to save your life. Listen, your neighbor may go, oh, I feel sorry for you too, but they ain't gonna pay your bills.
Right.
They're going to fix your relationships. But when you get the Lord at the center of everything you do, then what's amazing is He says everything just bows down and follows and centers around me, and then I can work. I mean, this is so powerful, and I really believe that in our church, this is what it's coming to. We have to decide who's going to be the center of everything. It should be a sermon series, right? A 27-week sermon series is what that can turn into. All right. Sorry, last year we had that and it turned into be a long one. All right, so so today we're talking about our core values and who we are and what we're about. And today, here it is, you ready? Together we are a family. Y'all know y'all are singing in your head. Y'all know y'all, oh, what's up? Whoa, whoa. Right? Don't you love family though? Don't you love family stuff? Don't you like family get-togethers when everybody like brings what they're good at? We have a family. It's like, okay, we're having dinner. You bring this, you bring this. Like you're told what to bring. Church is that way too. Some of y'all don't go to small group. Let me tell you something. I don't even know if I should say it. You don't understand small group. There are days in the week where you don't have to plan dinner. You just bring a little something, and you show up, and people are like, why is my pastor not losing weight? Small group. Y'all are like, why are these people doing exercise worse? Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. We were in small group all week long. You don't understand. It is amazing. And then it gets to a place now where it's like somebody was in a small group like previously, they're going through this Bible study, and somebody else was there, and they were like, hey, where them cupcakes at you made yesterday? How come we ain't got no more cupcakes? So y'all, why are church people a little overweight? Because we got a small group. Man, I was doing so good at the beginning of this a year ago. Man, I was slim, I was trim, I was working out, and now I'm like, feed me. It's crazy. But family, that's what family's about. Family's about fellowship. It's about hanging out. It's about being with people. Listen, I'm just happy to be here with you.
Amen.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
It is a privilege and an honor to be your pastor. Are you kidding me? I've been in a place in my life or someplace that we don't want you to be our pastor. And I'm like, fine. I'll just take my Bible and go somewhere else. Isn't that funny? Can I tell you I'm happy to be here? It's not a pain. It's not a struggle. It is a blessing. And it is an honor. Let's read the text, Philippians chapter 2. This is our main text this morning about being a family. What does church look like to us? Listen, I don't care what people are doing around the corner, up the street, in the city, down the block. I want to know what God wants for us. What does God want from us? I'm talking about not just me. I'm talking about you. If you're behind and in a chair, I'm talking to you. What does God want from us? Here we go. You ready? Philippians 2. Verse 1 says, if there is any encouragement from belonging to Christ, any comfort from his love, any fellowship together in the Spirit, are your hearts tender and compassionate? Then make me truly happy by agreeing wholeheartedly with each other. What he says, loving one another and working what? Together with one mind and purpose. A house divided will not stand. Verse 3. I might lose some of y'all here. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Here it is. Be humble. Thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interest, but take an interest in others too. I am convinced if every church in the world did this, Satan wouldn't have a shot. How many horror stories, sad stories, do we hear about churches? And people selfish, self-interest. and not taking the time to think about somebody else. Listen, if you're married here today, that means you stood before an altar in front of somebody and said, I pledge my life to this person. You said, for better, for worse, for richer, before. Hopefully, richer is what we get. Richer before, we want more money. And, sickness and health. When you made those commitments to that person, you stood there and you made a promise. What you said was, I am going to look out for them more than I look out for myself. And the reason why marriages break down is because two people live separate lives. You can't do that and survive. You have to, somewhere along the way, say that my spouse means more to me than myself. That makes sense what I'm saying? And it's hard. Because it's hard when you're always right, right? It's hard when you're never wrong. But sometimes you just got to say, if loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. Let's talk about families. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about what our church is, who we are, what we're about. What does God want us to be? What does renewal look like to Jesus? You ready? Here we go. Number one, we have to focus on the right things. We have to focus and be focused on the right things. That's what he's saying. He's saying this in verse 1. He says, is there any encouragement from belonging to Christ, any comfort of his love, any fellowship together in the Spirit? Are your hearts tender and compassionate? We have to focus on the right things. What are they? God has given Jesus to us because we belong to him. Can you imagine that what this world would be if people would just unite with a common cause and get things done? Wouldn't it be amazing for Republicans and Democrats to sit down, sit down and compromise? And have a common goal, which is me, which I elected you behind, so go do your job? Yeah. Sorry, not political. I'm just tired of paying for things that don't happen. Oh, I guarantee you, listen to me, I guarantee you don't pay your taxes come April 15th, someone's going to come knock on your door from the government. You're like, I thought y'all was shut down. Where's my money? Sorry, I shut everything down. I ain't paying you a dime. Me and my wife, we can't compromise how much to pay you. I'm going to throw you behind you. I'm going to throw you in jail. Citizen's arrest. What would it look like? See, listen, God's not controlling the government. He's controlling his church. And inside of his church, he says to us, I need you guys to be united. I need you guys to come together but listen, we are not about people. We're about family. We are not family focused. We are family. There's a difference. I'm not doing programs to try to get families. I'm trying to do church to get people who are broken. Perfect people, leave. Messed up, jacked up people, we got a seat for you. We're a family. Think about how you treat your kids. See, listen, this is it. So your kids, I'm going to be honest with you. Most of y'all's kids, all of y'all's kids are crazy. Because my kids are crazy. But you call my kid crazy, I'm going to go crazy. Right? Right? That's how family is. We know we're messed up, but don't call us messed up out there in the world. We will cut you. Isn't that how family is, right? Like, we know we're messed up. We know we got issues. We know we got problems. Churches, we know this. We all know this. But we protect each other. Right. If you want to be in our family, all you got to do is show up. Right. All you got to do is show up. Right. Man, I just need Jesus. Well, you come to the right place. We all need him. Right. Amen. That's why we're here. See, God gave us Jesus, so we belong to him. We all belong to the same God who is working on his purpose in our lives. God has given us the love of Jesus. Think about that, the love of Jesus. 1 John 4:18. I want to listen to this verse. Such love has no fear. He's talking about the love of Christ. And that love that he gives to us has no fear. Let me just make a statement to you. You ever watch Cops or something like that, or maybe even been in a real life situation where you have a battered woman and she's trying to get away from her husband who's beating her, but she goes, but I love him. But I'm afraid of him. Love has no what?
Fear.
Fear. Someone said, what's the opposite of fear? Is it courage? No. Is it being strong? No. What's the opposite of fear? Is love. It's love. Because it says this, such love has no fear, because perfect, that word perfect, it doesn't mean like a 10 or no need to change. Here's what that word means in the Greek. It means finished, completed, or accomplished. That means that as you live your life, God is developing in you a love. His love in your life. Because in our world, love means different things. I've heard people say this in marriage. I just fell out of love with her. Oh yeah, me and her, we used to be tight, but now I don't love her anymore. Okay, let me just tell you this. Love ain't a hole you fall into. You choose to love people. And in church, we choose to love each other. We choose. Look around the room. I choose to love you. I choose it. You don't force me. Why? Because God is working in my life to love people. Not because Jason's a great person. Are you kidding me? No, because God's working in my life and he's pouring out his love into me so that it becomes ready, finished, completed, and accomplished. It's a process by which he's living and moving. So in our church, God said, I'm going to start you here, and I'm going to work you through, and I'm going to keep pouring my love into you. It's going to continue to overflow and move and grow and move and grow. And when you do this, you don't have to be afraid of anything. Even at the previous verse, let's talk about the judgment. John's writing this, and he said, I don't want you to live your life in fear, wondering if God's going to strike you down. Can I ask a question? You ever done something wrong, and you were afraid that God was going to strike you down? Am I the only one that thought that?
Nope.
Okay, let me break it down like this. You ever done something wrong, and then wake up in the middle of the night, and nobody was home, and you thought the rapture happened?
Yes.
Jesus came. My mama's not in bed. I knew I shouldn't have lied, but I did. I'm sorry. Jesus, can you help me? Dude, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about that you don't have to live in fear. God's not hovering over you the light and going to wait and strike you dead. He loves you. He's crazy about you. Isn't that powerful? Isn't that what we do in families? We love our kids, even when they do wrong. Do you ever see in a courtroom when a son does something or a daughter does something, the parents are back there going, lock him up, lock him up, lock his behind up? No. They're crying. They are weeping. Why? They know their baby did something wrong. They know there's a consequence, but they still love them. You think Jesus up there going, lock him up? He ain't doing that. He's not doing that. And should we do that to each other? Should we treat each other the same way? So when our families are struggling, do we gossip about them or do we pray over them? I know we don't have an issue with this in our church. I know we don't. But I'm telling you right now, this has to be a hill that we die on. We will protect each other. Why? Because we are a family. Gosh, that's crazy, isn't it? He says this, if we are afraid, it is for fear of punishment. And this shows that we have not fully experienced his perfect love. If you right now go to church because you're afraid, you're going for the wrong reasons. If you're going to church right now because you're afraid that God might strike you dead, you're going for the wrong reasons. You go to church because He loves you. Even when you do wrong. And He says this, verse 19 says, we love each other because He loved us what? You know what that means? While you were yet in your sin, Christ died for you. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so you ever invite someone to church and they're like, yeah, I'll go to church with you, but I got to make sure my life is in order. You ever say that? If I walk in, that roof is going to fall. Oh, I better not show up. I'm gonna bring all the bad voodoo with me if I come into your place. Let me tell you something. Your voodoo ain't big enough to mess with the love of God. He goes, He loved us first. That means when you were in your sin, did Jesus wait for you to get your act together? No, He didn't. He worked ahead of you. He died on the cross for your sins. And that is powerful. God has given us the power of fellowship with the Holy Spirit. 1 Corinthians 12 says it this way. Some of us are Jews. Some are Gentiles. So basically, you're either a Jew or you're a Gentile. If you ain't a Jew, you're a Gentile. With me? Some are slaves. And some are free. But we have all been baptized into one body by one Spirit. And we all share the what? Same Spirit. You know what he's saying there? He's saying there are no barriers with people. It really comes down to two groups of people in this world. Saved and unsaved. People that belong to Jesus and people that don't. Isn't it amazing how God never separates? Well, some of y'all are different shades of color. Some of y'all are different political parties. Some of y'all might be different sizes. Some of y'all might comb your hair, shave your head, grow a beard. He says, look, either you belong to me or you don't. Either you belong to me or you don't. The church should be a house where everybody can walk into and feel accepted and loved because God accepts and loves them. I'm not saying He accepts our sins. Please don't put words in my mouth. I'm just saying that God died for people. Amen. For everyone. For God so loved the world. Who's included in the world? Everybody. So why in the world do churches and God's people separate everybody? For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, right? That whosoever should believe in Him should not perish but have what? Everlasting life. God has given us a tenderness and compassion. Ephesians 4 says it this way, make every effort to keep yourselves united in the Spirit. Make every effort you have to be united in the Spirit. Every effort. That means that when you walk into a church, it should be united and not divided. Right? It says, together with peace, for there is one body and one Spirit, just as you have been called to the one glorious hope for the future. There is one Lord, one faith, one baptism, and one God and Father who is over all and in all and living through what? All. One, right? One Spirit, one God, one faith, one air. It's all, we should be united. Do you know why? You know what can stop us if we're divided? Anything. You know what can stop us if we're united? Nothing. So we all say this right now. This is our church and we are a family and we want you to experience the love of Jesus. That's our only goal in your life. That's powerful. Philippians 1 says it this way. So it is right that I should feel as I do about all of you. This is Paul as he's in prison writing to the church at Philippi. For you have a special place in my heart. This is like a pastor talking to his people. He's arrested for preaching the gospel. And he writes back to the church and says, you have a special place in my heart. If I didn't go to that church, I went to the church, I'd be like, what about me? You got a special place in your heart for me too? But he says to the Philippians, I have a special place in my heart for you. You share with me the special favor of God, both in my imprisonment and in defending and confirming the truth of the good news. God knows how much I love you and long for you with the tender compassion of Christ Jesus. Isn't that the kind of pastor you want? Isn't that the kind of church family you want to be a part of? That the pastor says, I genuinely and tenderly care about you. That I will do anything for you. And the church responds, we tenderly care about you too. And we will do anything for you as well. Isn't that the kind of house you want to be a part of? Yeah. Think about the stress that houses put on when moms and dads fight with each other and the kids come over this stress. Listen, I don't know if we've experienced this in our home. Sure we have. Oh, Jason, you and Judy all have fights? No, we just have disagreements that are kind of loud at times. She starts speaking, Dutch to me, and I just start speaking slang, and it's just that we can't get it together. It's an intercultural relationship, so it's something we're working on. It's almost like I'm living like the Lucy and Ricky story, Where like Ricky would go into Spanish as he's yelling at Lucy, right? But it's the other way around. I get yelled at in Dutch. Every relationship has problems. Every single one. You know why? Because we're broken and messed up people. And it takes a lot of work. And then you get in these situations where you feel like you could have done better, and then God just pours truth into you and pours truth at the same time. Satan's given lie after lie after lie. And the reason why you go to church is so you can hear that truth. Let me give you a second point real quick. Is developing and demonstrating the right attitudes. We have to have the same thoughts, the same loving attitudes, the same goals in mind, and the same purpose. My purpose today and my purpose in this church is not to build a building. My purpose is to build people. Build hearts. Help rebuild lives. God will take care of the other stuff. Maybe when you're a kid on a trip, and it's all about the destination. And the older you get, you realize it's not about the destination. It's actually really about the journey. It's about all the experiences that you have. I remember the first time I ever saw mountains. I'll tell you the story. It was 1982. We were driving to Pittsburgh to see my mother's family. And it was my aunt, my mom, and they were in we were in a Ford truck, a manual Ford truck. And in the back of it, we had those old school toppers, camper toppers, right? But it was like, didn't match the color of the car. So our truck was black, the topper was white, it just didn't look right. And then we put a mattress in the back, and the kids, me, my brother, and my cousin, we went all the way from Jacksonville, Florida, to Pittsburgh in the back of the truck, laying on a mattress like that. Now they will throw you in jail. You see, this is the problem with people today. More kids need to ride in the back of the truck. And hold on. See, we messed up a whole generation. We made them actually wear helmets riding bicycles now. It used to be scars were like, hey, look, I fell. I actually have a scar right here. Because I jumped over a ditch. Why? Because that's what you do with a bike. Okay, you don't ride little paths, you jump ditches. What's wrong with people today, right? That's what you do. You go around the ditches and you pick up the bottles and you take the bottles to the store and you get 10 cents on a bottle, yes. And then you get your Coke, right? Am I right? This is back in the day where you can be 10 years old and go buy a pack of smokes. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Never crossed my mind at 10 years old. I was like, my mom, go get me some smokes. I'm 10 years old. Go to the store, buy a pack of smokes. Yo, I need some Marlboro Reds. Can I get those in a box, please? I'll take an RC Cola. And that was it, man. That's living. Now you can't get smokes till you're like 85. I'm not advocating smoking. I'm just saying times are different, right? They're just different. They're crazy. They're different. But what's our goal? We have to have this goal in mind. It's all about family, and it's all about putting other people first and realizing that life is that way. And so when I saw these mountains for the first time, I popped up in the back of the train. I was like, yeah, great mountains. And I went back to sleep. Now, as an adult, I'm going, that's amazing. Look at the beauty of that.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you just don't care. You just want to get there. Church, getting there is just as important as actually arriving. Experiencing all that we're going to experience on this journey. Can I tell you this right now on this journey that we're on? I'm going to stop and look at mountains. I'm going to pull the car over and go, look what God did. Look what He did. If we don't do that, we're going to miss it all. And it's just going to be a blur. We have to be able to stop and see what God is doing. Same thoughts, same attitude, same mind, same purpose. Loving the right practices. Are you ready? Number 3. Reject all selfish behavior. He said, some versions say it this way, selfish ambition. That churches have to reject selfish ambition. Selfishness. One commentator writes it this way, as he says, the person with such conceit considers himself always to be right and expects others to agree with him. Do you hear what I just said? What is selfish behavior? It is this defined. A person with such conceit considers himself always to be right and expects others to agree with him. The only unity he seeks or values is centered on himself. We cannot be a church that is centered on one personality or be a group of people stating we are right and everybody else is wrong. People who hold to this behavior destroy the unity of the church family. That's crazy. That's powerful, right? James 3:16 says it this way. Listen to this one. For where jealousy, now think about this in relationships and churches and life in general. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. Okay, I don't think you heard this. Okay. Picture where you work. Picture the group of people that you're with. Picture your office. Picture your marriage. Picture your relationships. Picture your children. Picture your church. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. Why does God hate that behavior so much? Because it destroys everything that He died for. We should always question our own motives, and we should always test our own motives. Why are we doing this? What is the purpose behind it? Is God glorified? Is God the one that's going to be lifted up? Are we trying to show people who we are? Or are we trying to show people who God is? We should remain living with servants' hearts and attitudes. Remember that people matter. We started off saying the person next to you matters. They matter. You matter. You matter. You matter. All y'all matter. That's powerful, right? Can you imagine in the middle of a fight where you look at your spouse and go, you know what, I'm sorry. You matter. And they say, I'm sorry, you say I'm right? No, I say you're right. I just said you matter. You might even get a kiss. You matter, girl. All right. Let me give you the point and we'll close with this one. You ready for this one? Here's the point. All this for one point. The unity of our church family has to matter to all of us, not just a few people, because it matters to God. Amen? Amen. If you struggle, if we don't have answers for you, we'll pray with you to get answers. We had a young lady this week in our church who's not here. Her family's actually in the hospital. She had a near-death experience. And we prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed for her. And today, my wife and I are going to go to the hospital and see her after the service. Why? Because we want to celebrate the victory of God miraculously bringing this young lady back to life. Powerful. A mountain. Right? A mountain.
Yes.
You know what it's about? It's a mountain. Stopping and seeing that God is the great physician. He is the one that heals us. Sure, doctors have their part, but they're not the great healers. Your marriages, your struggles that you go through, some of you are going through it. You're going through the fire. I'll tell you something. You ain't walking in it alone. You never have to. God is faithful. The unity of our church family has to matter to us all, not just a few people, because it what matters to God. Let's bow our heads. I don't know where you're at today, and I don't know what you're struggling with. Some of you I do, some of you I don't. But maybe right now you're having a moment where you're struggling with who you are and what you're about and your purpose. And I'm here to tell you that everybody has struggled with that. Maybe you're struggling in your marriages and you're just going, Jason, this is so hard. We just hit this incredible snag and we're just asking God to work a miracle. I still believe He works miracles. And we're going to pray for God to have a miracle in yours. Maybe you're here today and you're struggling. We've got people in our church that are struggling financially. Struggle. And they're battling. And they're worried and they're fearful. But God is faithful. We've got people in our church that are battling health issues. And it's a struggle. God is faithful. Maybe you're here today and you're like, I just want to have a church that loves me for who I am. That won't judge me. That will love me through all of my failures. I'm here to tell you this is the church for you. We're a bunch of people that have a lot of failures in our past. But we know the victory's before us. We don't have all the answers. We probably have more questions than answers. But we know Jesus. And He's the one that sets us free and gives us hope and takes our wrongs and makes them right. He's the one that loved us first. He's the one that pursued us in our sin. He's the one that poured His grace out on our lives. He's the one that gave us forgiveness and hope when we were empty and hopeless. Father, just pour your Spirit into this place. Father, we ask that you supernaturally take whatever it is that we are and bring us together and make us a family. That we look at each other with love. And that we look to build each other up. And that as people come into our church, that they would experience that love and they would see that unity that we have. Not because we're great people, because we're not. It's because of you. And that you become the center of everything that we do. But we don't want to be a church that plays church. We want to be your church. We want to be a place where you visit and you're with us every time we're together. Because you know we will glorify you. That you have the first place in this place. That it is all about you and not about us. That together as a family, we can get through anything. And that it's through the difficult times that bond us to you and bond us to each other. Knowing that no matter what happens, that we can endure and go through anything, knowing that you are walking us and leading us down this path. Help us to stop and look at the mountains and the miracles in our lives and be thankful for what we see. God, we love you. We praise you, we thank you, we honor you. And we ask all these things in Jesus' name. And all God's people said.
Amen.